delivering food is the best job if you're a weed smoker. You got your bowl in your car, you're just driving. Who cares if the food smells like weed, you know?
Live from the Willie Nelson and Friends Museum Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music is Funny. Musicians talking to comedians about music and comedy. With your hosts, Raelyn Nelson and Jonathan Bright.
Smoking, I'm so high, I keep toking, I'm drunk, but I'm still drinking too.
Welcome back to Music is Funny. I'm Raelyn Nelson.
And I'm Jonathan Bright from the Raelyn Nelson Band, back with another ridiculous and unnecessary intro.
Hey, go follow us on all the social media platforms at Raelyn Nelson Band. And go check out our website because there you will see our tour dates. We have some shows coming up and we'd love to see your faces at our shows.
She's added them to the website. And apparently there's giveaways coming soon.
Yeah, we're doing giveaways.
Anyway, let's cut this short. We'll get into that later.
At Brendan Sagalow. At Action. And we like to start off every podcast by asking you, what's the first music you remember loving as a kid?
First music I remember loving was, and I still do to this day, baby, Eminem. I fucking love that guy. When he came out, I was in 5th grade. Perfect time to just get into my psyche. And he kind of looked like me. It was great. It was great. And to this day, I have Eminem shit hanging up all over this place.
Yeah,
So
I think I was like 13 or 14 when he came out. I might be a little bit older than you. And I remember the youth pastor bringing in the Slim Shady words and reading them.
Hell yes, dude. That's what I loved about this guy. I loved that, like, it was dangerous and it was like my parents hated that I listened to it. I love that.
Yeah, everybody hated it. It was just...
He was great right when he came out. It was definitely like, whoa, shit. When you see that first video and the way he delivered it, like, wow, he can actually rap. You know, there was some white dudes that were rapping at the time that weren't all that great. But and plus Dr. Dre's producing his first few records. So, you know, instant credibility.
Man, perfect. And still to this day, I'm like I just love the guy. I'll apologize. I'm a big apologist for him.
Yeah, you remember 8 Mile? 8 Mile was great. I remember when it came out. I loved Eminem too. He was great.
Yeah, I saw that at midnight. This is why I loved 8 Mile, because my mom hated Eminem. She hated one time she got the Marshall Mathers LP for my birthday when I was younger, and they listened to it on the ride to like my cake or whatever, and then went back to Best Buy and returned the album. And then she told me she did that. She said, "Oh yeah, we got it for you, but we returned it." And it was devastating. So then I saw 8 Mile, and my mom was like, "We're gonna go with you because this guy is a psychopath, and we need to make sure blah 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 blah." But it was such a good movie, and it showed this like sensitive side to him that after, and I remember to this day, my mom being like, "Hey, he's not all that bad." And that was a huge win. That was a huge win.
That's fantastic.
That's progressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So what was the very first music you remember hearing, like as a child?
Oh man, the Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas cassette. I had it on a cassette, and I would listen to that song, Christmas time is here. That's like the first one, or Will Smith's Millennium. Really? I had that on a cassette too. That's how young I am. That's how young and pure I am.
I don't remember Millennium. What was on that album?
That was
what
was on Millennium?
Big ones?
There was a big one, but I don't remember. That might have been Welcome to Miami was on that.
Yeah, I like that one. I remember learning the words to that one.
It was either on that one or Big Willie Style.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
I was a huge Will Smith fan too.
Yeah, we all were.
I know.
My older cousin that I love so much, I wanted to be just like him. He was obsessed with Fresh Prince.
Of course.
And my mom didn't like it. So she's racist. She's racist. No, she's not.
That's it? That's the only reason?
No, I'm kidding. It was just a funny thing to say. My mom's not racist.
All right.
But she didn't want
the phones are lighting up.
She didn't. She kept me pretty sheltered. Like I was watching Little House on the Prairie, you know. She kept me
until she
sheltered.
was 32.
That's
Yeah, I
hilarious.
just now started watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Secular
Yeah.
shows.
Well, when I was over at my cousin's house, I would watch Fresh Prince with him because he loved it, and so then I automatically loved Will Smith because he did.
Oh yeah, I just remember getting that cassette and just listening to it in my kitchen over and over and over again. It was so cool.
So as an Eminem fan, and we've had a few comics that have done this, at that point, did you or were you ever in a rap band or did you write rhymes?
I rap now. I,
Oh, yeah?
I am a rapper. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a rapper. This is what I say. It's like the same way that Lil Wayne talks about skateboarding, where he says, he goes, I skate, but I'm not a skateboarder.
Cool.
I rap, but I'm not a rapper. Like
So I'm guessing you started rapping then before you even thought about comedy.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, it's so funny that Eminem had such a huge influence on me when I was so young because I'm like 11. I'm like 10 or 11 being like, I fucked this bitch and then I killed her and slit her throat. I'm saying things I don't even understand what they mean. I didn't even know what slitting your throat meant or what it was, but he would say it all the time. I'm like talking about Vicodin at like 9 years old.
Yeah.
It
Also,
had
he was
such-
funny.
I was
He
just
kind
about to say that was
a
back
comedian.
when people were funny in rap groups.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
also funny how I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up in the suburbs and how that shit spoke to a bunch of white kids in the
Oh
suburbs.
yeah.
It was like watching comedy that you didn't quite understand, but you knew kind of what they were talking about.
Because it was cool. It was like it's cool to be like, and to this day, people are like this. At a certain age, it's just cool to like not give a fuck and
Yeah.
be dangerous and be disrespectful. And then Eminem comes out and he and then it like goes into our heads like, oh, we could do this too. White kids could also be like this. It made us relate to him a little bit more, or relate to that life and want to be that.
Yeah, and it's true. I don't know if that's a dude thing, but I'm older than you guys. So my first one was like early punk rock, but it's the same thing. Some people out there saying things you're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
So then when I got a little bit older and like watched like the literal birth of hip hop, watching them and then starting saying that shit, I'm like, oh, this is the new
Yeah.
punk rock. I can, especially in the early days, because everybody was doing it on their own.
Yeah, because that kind of music, like punk rock and Eminem and just gangster rap in general, like it was able for you to like say shit that really what you're saying is I'm mad at my parents, but you're getting it, you're able to get it out by being like, yeah, fuck bitches and do, and it like gave you that voice. Especially Eminem, because he was talking about like, killing his mom. And I'm 14 and my mom's like, grounding me, even though we all know the grounding's not going to stand. It's like, and I'm going, fuck you, mom. I'm blasting it.
It's great. All right. So you started rapping. Did you have a crew in high school, junior high? When did the rapping start? And did you perform as a rapper before?
Could you perform a rap for us right now?
I can't because I would embarrass myself because I haven't done it. I look at it like to me, it's like, I'm like a serial killer kind of like I get a compulsion to do it. And then I just kind of have to focus on it. And I do that. But then once I do that, I can go months without being good at it or like being able to do it on the drop of a hat or anything like that. So you're getting me in. I'm focused on comedy and my actual career. But
do you normally relate to some serial killers, or is that just I
relate more to serial
into your
killers
head
than
now?
I do to actual people.
Serial killers are people too.
But yeah, I didn't have a group, but we would like freestyle and stuff and like at like lunch. But we're middle class white kids being like, check me out. You know what I mean? It probably was the cringiest thing any teacher has ever seen.
Where'd you grow up?
Are you guys frozen? Am I frozen?
Oh no, I think we're back now.
Are we good?
Okay, good. Yeah.
Oh, so where did you grow up? Did you say that already and I missed it?
No, I grew up in Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
it's like,
anything about that.
people in my school had like BMWs in
Oh.
in the parking lot, but still wearing like do-rags. Me also, I would walk around wearing do-rags and like sagging my pants and everything.
So did you ever do any kind of performance stuff in high school or any of that stuff? Like any kind of performing?
I never like did a rap show or anything like that. But I did when I was in 7th grade, I did comedy in front of people, and I remember doing well. I remember actually like killing, but I was just talking. They had this big talent show at the auditorium, and they had like 3 people submit. So it's like they were like, does anyone have any talents? We've been here for 20 minutes. Does anyone have any talents? And people were like, oh, just Brendan, just go up, because I was funny. So they're like, go up and do stand-up comedy. And I was like, okay, never thought about it ever, and just went up and trashed my entire family. And it actually went well, and I felt good. Like I got like all that attention after. Like, if there was cocaine there, I probably would have done it.
So were you aware of comedy as a thing back then? Did you have like, who was your first favorite comic, or were you even aware of it back then? Because a lot of people's first favorite comics are just TV actors in sitcoms and things like that.
Yeah, I knew about stand-up because me and my sister would watch Comedy Central, and they had the Comedy Central Presents all the time. So like, I think the first comedian I really listened to a lot, like the first one that I was like, was Brian Regan. Because I remember my buddy had a like an album of his, and at camp we would just listen to it over and over and over again, like quote it back. That and Dane Cook. Yeah, Dane Cook's Comedy Central Presents is like, pretty fire. It's really good. Plus, then he had that album, and that run that Dane went on was like, I was peak. I was like, I'm in.
Oh yeah, and they had that whole tourgasm thing where you watch them roll around in a tour bus and do the rock star thing.
Yeah, totally. But then you watch it back now, and you're like, this is not how comics act. This is not the way comics go on the road. We're not like, tickling each other and buzzing each other's hair. It's not Jackass,
Right.
Yeah.
So did you, when you were watching that stuff, were you thinking, maybe I will try? I mean, you did the talent show. Were you aware of comedy at that point doing the talent show? You go, oh yeah, I know what stand-up is. You try it. And then at that point, you're like, I think I'm going to do this.
No, I did it and then just continued living my life. Like I didn't even look at it like, whoa, like this is a viable, you know what I mean? I went up, I did it, I did well, and I just like went back to, like, I was like, yeah, that's it. It was just like, that's a something. And then somebody like years later, someone was like, you should do stand-up comedy again. And I was like, oh no. And then we started writing jokes together, and they were horrible. They were awful. I can't even remember which one was. I know it involved a teddy bear of some sort, but I don't remember what it was. And then another year has gone by, and then I was watching a special at this like house party I was at, where like everybody was just doing ketamine and all that shit, and I was just kind of bored of it. I was like, this is like, my life. I'm 19. I have no concept of time, and I went to a bringer show. My first show ever was a bringer show where all my friends went. My first show was like performing for my friends. That seems crazy to me now.
How did it go?
It went okay. I always thought, yeah, they loved me. They loved me because I was doing like local references with my friends. I'm doing like, not, how Paul is, and it's like
high school callbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Who remembers Miss Gretchen? Do you remember Miss Gretchen? But it actually went fine. It was like, okay. I thought I killed. Like, in your head, you're like, oh, I killed. But I have it on tape. I still have it from fucking 11 years ago. And I watched it back recently, and I was like, this is god awful. This is it's just bad.
Shall we play
it's
it?
Getting like a little bit of laughs, but nothing really. I did a whole bit about the porn parody of Seinfeld, and I was like, the whole joke is like, oh, I'm jerking off to Seinfeld. That's the whole joke. And it was like a 2-minute nothing.
That's hysterical. So what were you doing before comedy? I'm sure we all had shitty jobs before I was playing music or at the same time. It takes a while to be able to not have the shitty job and do the art stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I had a day job while I was doing comedy up until 2020. Like, I was answering phones at a comedy club when I was 28 or whatever, however fucking old that is compared to me. And then once the pandemic hit, I was like, I started making money off of just stand up. So, but before that, I did like, I delivered food. I worked at a bowling alley. I was like a janitor at one point at the bowling alley. So I was
Actually,
doing
the two most appealing jobs out of those two. I don't know if you're a weed smoker, but food delivery, I delivered pizzas. Fucking greatest job in the
the
world.
best job. Delivering food is the best job if you're a weed smoker. You got
Yeah.
your bowl in your car, you're
Yeah.
just driving. Who cares if the food smells like weed? You know, I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if the food smells like weed. Although one time I was so high and I'm listening to like Opie and Anthony, it's the best. And I stopped short and all the food went boom right
Oh.
against my window. And it was enough. It was like my first week. It was enough where I could salvage it. I was like, this could be salvaged. I could put this back and deliver the food and nobody gets hurt. So I'm like scraping noodles with like
Ew.
melted Parmesan cheese all in. It's all over my car. I'm putting it into the thing. You know, they probably ate hairs and shit. Never called that place ever again. But that's
Oh,
such a good
God.
job.
Yeah, I
Delivering
delivered
food.
sandwiches for a while, and yeah, it's great. You just hit the one hitter, and
Drive around, turn something on the radio,
Yeah.
and
It's the best, dude. And you get tips, and sometimes the tips aren't great, but sometimes the tips are amazing. It's a good
Yeah.
job. If I didn't do this, I would probably be one of those like 60-year-old delivery guys. You know,
Yeah.
when you work at like a place that delivers food, there's always one guy that's like in his 40s, you know, that they're just taking care of. You know what I mean?
I remember when I worked at Rio Bravo. It was early
which
on.
is a restaurant.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, do you know Rio Bravo?
No.
That's Nashville.
Is
based.
it?
Yeah.
It's gone now. You can't even go to one.
What
But
kind of food was that?
it's a mixture of it's
It's like Tex-Mex kind of stuff.
kinda yeah.
Got a little
Oh,
broad
okay.
menu. Basically, it was a place to pick up chicks back then.
Nice.
They had a bar, full bar.
Oh, okay. Rivergate side, you were West End
Oh,
side.
okay, yeah.
So I'm in more of the suburbs. He's talking more downtown. But in the suburb one, I worked there and I was probably just out of high school. And one of the meanest people in high school who was so mean to me, she came in to eat and I was her server.
Damn.
And I hawked the biggest loogie
Oh,
into her sweet.
Oh,
It's
shit.
the only time I ever did it. And I've worked in food stuff like serving and
Yeah.
bartending. It's the only time I've ever done that. But
Have you ever
I was very young.
got a receipt from somebody and the tip thing was not crossed out or written in, so you added your own tip? You ever
No, I don't steal money from people. Gee.
do that? Okay, well, you know, I have.
But I
so-
would eat food. I would eat food and not pay for it from the restaurant.
Of
Which is
course.
technically the same thing. You know?
Of course. I mean,
Yeah, but
that's
we can't get the restaurant industry mixed up with the delivery industry. Two totally different things. You got to deal
Yeah.
with a lot of bullshit in the restaurant industry.
I think
Yeah.
him talking about the windshield food made
Oh,
me
yeah,
think
but
of
you-
me hawking a loogie, and I wanted to tell the story. So
Yeah.
Melissa, her name was Melissa.
delivery drivers are
Charming.
like, we're like truck drivers. You know what I mean? We're not, you don't see us. We're like roadies.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're behind the scenes.
I don't know. I had to take the sandwiches in and see people, and I noticed if I wore a dress, I made more tips that day.
Nice.
So I would just constantly wear dresses. So that's something a little tip.
Man,
out there
everybody's
for you
such
guys.
a pervert. I mean, who goes into like a Tex mix place and they're like, they see legs and they're like, oh, hey, you know, and I'll give her money.
You
You
just
know,
got to be the West End one.
Yeah, exactly. So you start doing comedy. Like, I guess you just did it locally for a while. How did you build up, and when did
No.
you? I assume you just make the leap and go to New York and start trying to crack that code.
You'd think, but I didn't do that. I immediately just went into the New York like club. Like my first show was at a place called New York Comedy Club, which I still work to this day. I mean, it's like my home club, that place. So that was my first show as a bringer there, like in the city, you know. And then I tried to do shows in Long Island, but at that time, and I can't speak for the scene now, but at the time, the scene over there was like, to me, it was like, oh, this is depressing. I could at least go into the city and do open mics and be depressed in the city. You know what I mean? Then be 40 minutes out, like trying to make it out here, where it was like I'd go to open mics in Long Island and people would be doing their jokes to no one. They would just be doing it to us. We're all waiting to go on.
Right.
And one time I looked over, and one of the guys who was sitting around me was mouthing the jokes that the guy on stage at the open mic, which was a bar that's still around today. It's on what highway is that? Like Seaford? It's on the Seaford Highway. If anybody from Long Island is listening, it's on the Seaford Highway. It's called like Iguana Bar. And someone was just like mouthing the other comic. It was so pathetic, so dark, so like, I was like, I don't want to be here. I almost walked into the highway.
So did you know anybody in the scene in New York to dip your toe in, or was that just,
No.
go online, find out, and then just try to meet people?
Go online, find out, do whatever you can to be working in the scene, to be around, like try to make friends. My friends were like the people that were nice to me my first day. Those were the people that I'm like, what are you doing? What are you like? I immediately tried to grab onto people. And because I think I always knew, like, if you have friends in whatever business you are in, you're going to go farther, they just having, just trying to be a part of it and be a part of the scene and everything. And then when you're at the open mics and stuff, you would just keep seeing the same people over and over and over again. And then eventually it's like, all right, it's like prison. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, come into my cell. Let's play some cards, whatever. I mean, you're here, I'm here. Let's be friends. It's like that.
We've talked to a lot of people, and was there anybody like in a class ahead of you that recognized you and like, here's some shows, or here's some information, or did you ever have anybody like pulling you up like that?
Kind of. Like when I got in with like a crowd that was like not good, like not good for the scene, not good for just comedy in general. Like I was really just kind of around people that weren't doing it, but that were like, I was working for a guy who, he's a nice dude. I think he's still doing it now, but he he used to run like tons of open mics and stuff. And like, I would help run it. Like he wouldn't be there. I'd be at the front and I'd be taking money and stuff and all that shit. But like his advice was just awful. He's like, the audience are idiots and you should treat them as such, and it just, I worked for him for like a year or two and it just sunk into my head. And I met all of these people that were doing it, but not doing it. And then I just kind of, he fired me. He fired me because I was like, trying, I guess I wasn't like a good intern. I've never been a good worker. Okay. So I was a bad worker. I got fired. And then I just started going to open mics and meeting like actual people who were actually doing it and all that stuff. And you kind of, as you go, you get more confidence to ask the people that are doing it, how are you doing it? How are you doing it? Like, what do I have to do? What do I have to talk to? And you can be a little annoying, but like the good comics, there's a ton of good comics that are really nice that will, talk to you. I like to do that. Like if somebody reaches out to me and they're like, how do I start? I feel bad not answering them. And I'm not saying that as like, I'm obviously,
What do you say?
I just say this is, you got to just keep, I go write and hang out and basically be obsessed with it and go to the open mics and, go hang out at shows and make friends, and the people will throw you up on the shows and you got to do well. But it's basically like, don't stop and just be obsessed with it. If you quit, you're fucked. And if you're like half-assing it, you're fucked, so you have to just like, that's why it's good to start at 19. I have no advice for people that are like divorced, that are starting, that are like almost in their 40s being like, how do I, do the, it's, I can't speak for that experience. I could speak from being young, having nothing to do and just like go to the comedy clubs, go hang, if you drink there, have a good time. Don't get too fucking hammered, but like make friends with everybody, make friends with a club, have your own place. It's really easy.
Yeah, and if it's anything like music, you got to get used to hearing the word no an awful lot.
Sure. You hear no for so long that by the time you actually deserve yes, you still think you deserve no. Yeah. Like there's you hear no for so long that you have to teach yourself like, no, I'm worth it, and I deserve this, and if it does, it because we're constantly like, oh, I don't want to, can I please have this stage time, can I please do that, and then that's how people rip you off. They go, okay, do you want to come to Hartford for or wherever you want to drive 6 hours for $200. And at a certain point when you don't have to do that anymore, because you should do that stuff just to like feel the pain, like have that pain that you can use, like live off of and become a better comic for. But at a certain point, you just go, no, you're fucking me. If by that, you're trying to fuck me. No, like I know how much money you can make. So no, thank you, kind of thing.
When do you listen to comedy podcasts?
Yeah. I try. I'll listen to like comedy pod. I don't listen to like a lot of my friends because that seems weird to me. But I listen to I like Conan's podcast a lot. I listen to I've been listening to the SNL podcast a lot too. I like listening to comedians talk about comedy.
Right. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, it's
been
so
watching the Always Sunny podcast. Have you seen any of
those? Oh
yeah.
Those guys rule too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's a different world too. It's like they're talking about getting a TV show started and all that stuff. So interesting
and impressive.
Oh yeah. And it's so impressive that people now go in when they pitch TV shows. They go, it's like Always Sunny, but that's like that's cool.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
God, I remember when I first saw that show, I was like, this will not last longer than a season. It's too funny. It's too good. They're going to yank it. Yeah. I thought Arrested Development the same way when I watched that. They made a few seasons, but I was like, this is too good. They're going to pull it. But Always Sunny's still going on, man. Still happening.
I'm so impressed by amazing writing because I'm like, it's so hard to like write a good thing. So I'm like so amazed by shows like Arrested Development or like 30 Rock, where you're like, how did they think of all this stuff? It's a joke, how do you write that? And it's a story and it all makes sense. And especially Arrested Development.
Veep is another one like that. It's like every single line is a joke.
And it's a different thing. You can't do crowd work. You know what I mean? It's like a complete different comedic muscle. Because you don't get to react to anything. You got to spit it out there and just assume.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Which I've never thought of, because you guys, a lot of people write on stage. You get the idea and you sort of work your way through. But comedy writers, they got to work completely different. They don't get any feedback, No.
Right. All they get is like their friends being like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like jaded writers being like, yeah, I think there's something in there. Like no one's going to give you the big applause laugh that you want until you make it. Think about all of the jokes that weren't made because from point A to point Z, it went through a process where people were like, no, which could have been like everyone else's opinion, and like say that joke made it through and it's like a killer joke. There's a lot of those that never made it through because of people being like, no, not that good, blah, blah, blah. But with stand up, you just say it and you get the.
Yeah.
It's immediate.
Yeah.
Can you imagine some of the off-color stuff that were left on the cutting room floor in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s in the writers' rooms? Can you imagine the shit they were writing back then?
Oh, yeah.
We can't use that, man. We can't use that.
No, they're hilariously sitting around going, N-word, but they're actually saying it. They're like, how do we,
Did you ever pick up an instrument and play?
Yeah, I play guitar. I mean, I'm not very good. I'm as good as someone. I'm fine, but I can't shred or anything like that. And I played in a band for a little bit too, like for like 2 or 3 years in high school. I was in a high school band, we're not great. A little punk band where we'd like called? Toxic Toast.
Ah, nice.
Toxic Toast. But the problem, and I'll say to this day where the whole band fell apart was Toxic Toast ended up being the name of a Mighty Mighty Boss Tones cover band, because the Toxic Toast is the name of one of their songs. That's where we got it. And then we found that out and they were huge. They're like this huge cover band. And we're like, oh, fuck, now we need a new name. And so we're like, that's like, when in in casinos when something happens. What's that called? When someone fucks one thing up, one little thing, and it makes everybody lose.
Oh yeah, there's a term. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was like that. It was soon as the name was gone, we're done. We were on like a roll, we weren't like we played a couple of shows, but we were like motivated and we're writing songs and trying to be good at our instruments. And then as soon as the name came, we were like, all right, we're gonna smoke weed, go to the mall. Who cares?
Wow. So the name
Wow.
derailed you guys. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. I've heard of people trying to come up with names and fighting over, but not like they took our name. Oh well, guess it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, we ended up, we were like, okay, because we loved weed so much, and we also loved Green Day, and Green Day's name comes from like a day where they were just smoking weed all day. And so we were like, okay, let's kind of do something like that. And we called ourselves the Hazard Children because it's THC. I mean, it was like awful. It was awful. It was awful. So we tried, and like all of our friends had already known us as Toxic Toast. They're like, Toxic Toast. We're like, actually, once the name is gone, it's gone. It's dead.
So did Toxic Toast, did you guys write your own music?
Yeah, we would like sit in class and I would write my music, and it was like bad, it wasn't good. It was like me trying to be good at like pop punk. You know what I mean? It's like people trying to be good at pop punk, which is like, the 3-chord power chord, like, oh, and then, and no, but it's like, not very good, and it's whiny.
Yeah, but to be fair, anybody that starts a band, whatever they're into, they immediately sound like that. You can't help it.
That's true. Yeah, so
Same with
I don't
mine.
know, maybe if we kept going, who knows, but I don't think so. I think it would have tore our friendship apart.
That's possible.
Yeah, because our drummer
It happened to us.
Yeah.
our drummer, when like he had like his drums were like 20 years old, and he kept them in the garage, and they would be so freezing and probably out of tune, and he never tuned them, so the drums sounded terrible, and we would be like, dude, you got to get new drums. You just got to get new drums. Like these are or fix these up. But it's one of those situations where it's like you might actually save money just buying a new
Right.
and he just wouldn't do it. He would just spend all his money on weed and booze, and he like partying and all that stuff. So it was like, if that kept going, and that guy's still a friend of mine to this day, if that kept going and we actually had like money involved or whatever, if we were actually trying to make a career out of it, it would have been, I wouldn't speak to that guy anymore. I'd be like, he's out of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would make you guys even more famous.
I know. If we killed him too, that'd be cool.
Bury him in his old drums.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could have just added a 2. You could be Toxic Toast 2.
Toxic. Yeah, that's true.
Damn, I know.
Damn, I didn't even think
Let's
of
get
that.
the boys back together.
Let's get the
and-
band back together. We still talk about it. I'm still friends with those guys. It was me, a guy who played bass, and we were Blink-182. We were Green Day, Blink-182. We would try to talk. We would try to do what Blink did, where they like talked in between songs and they were funny and all that stuff. But we're bombing, so we're just making each other laugh, and it's not going well. The drummer, he would get so out of tune. Like, he didn't follow us. He threw the stick. It went right by my head once, almost knocked me out. We were just a bad band.
Does that ever happen to you?
Well, no.
Okay.
I do think this is probably the perfect time for a comeback, though, because I guarantee the Toxic Toast cover band is probably done.
Let's look it up. Do you have a
We'll have to
producer?
look it up.
Jamie, can you?
I'm
No.
looking.
Yeah.
If they're still playing, that would be amazing.
Toxic.
Well, I remember them being like big, but I was also a kid in high school. So how do you look that up? You know what I mean? How did I know that? Like, what? Because they had maybe more MySpace followers or something?
Probably.
I mean,
they probably played big shows.
Are they still playing?
They have 502 likes on Facebook. 502.
All right.
That
All
might
right,
not
all
even
right.
be the same Toxic Toast.
I mean, if there's
Chicago,
another.
out of Chicago.
I don't know. I just remember
Mighty
seeing that.
Boston's tribute band.
There you go. So they're
Yeah.
still. Are they still active?
What is their Instagram? That's what you got to look at. What's their Instagram at?
Because or their TikTok, either one. Because if
TikTok is good too.
Let's look for Instagram.
I
Toxic.
doubt they're on TikTok. If you're in a Mighty Mighty Boss Tones cover band, I don't think you're in with the youth anymore.
No,
You
I
know
think
what I
they
mean?
automatically block you from TikTok.
Yeah, dude.
Like, just Toxic Toast Records.
So they don't have an Instagram.
Mm-mm. No.
All right.
Well-
Okay, I'll say this right now. I think I could start a band, call myself Toxic Toast, and be bigger than them within, I'll give myself 9 years. Is that too long?
I bet you
Maybe
can get,
sooner with our, you
you
know.
can get it more than 512 likes on Facebook. I bet.
Yeah.
You can do
Oh,
that
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. I just share my shit onto my Instagram. Hey guys, follow my band.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That'll be a new avenue for you. Don't even have any recorded output.
I
It's
know.
already
I know.
funny too.
Yeah, I'm in a
It's
band, but
awkward.
we never write songs. We don't ever play out live, and I never record anything.
Yeah, we're like gorillas. You don't see us.
Yeah, except that we don't even have any music.
Yeah, we don't have any music. I bet we could that's a nice experiment. Find a band, see if they could do literally nothing and become famous.
Yeah, take pictures. Maybe just one
Maybe
one
some pictures.
promo shot.
You gotta like fake it. You gotta have a bunch of people like surrounding you, being like, you know,
Yeah.
like
That's true. You build it up that way.
yeah, so that people go, who are these guys?
And they'll do giveaways. That's how they'll get big.
Yeah.
Although
I think we can set that up.
31 years old, I don't think I could be doing pop punk music anymore. You know what
No.
I mean? It's hard
Oh,
to be in your 30s talking about getting grounded. You know what I mean?
Well, again, if we don't make any music, I think we've already got the power trio right here.
We got it. First rehearsal next week.
Yeah, I come up with a name, and then we're pretty much done.
Toxic Toast. That's
Yeah.
our name.
Oh,
We're
that's
kicking the other people out of the band. I'm throwing my friendship aside.
featuring
gonna do
one original
Yeah.
original member.
One or
Yeah. It's like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like Guns N' Roses.
We're gonna be playing the Outlaw Cruise next.
We can start sort of feud with the old guys, maybe get that stirred up.
Yeah. And then they make a movie about us, and we get the old band back together for one last AIDS fest or whatever the fuck that was.
There you go. Oh, it's a great arc. You could get sick of us as the power trio. And
Yeah.
then all the old school's been wanting the original lineup back for years anyway.
Exactly. You both OD at the same time.
Wow, it's perfect. Or maybe the drummer shoots us up with bad heroin and we die. So it's kind of a murder, suicide.
Yeah,
that
because
drummer
his
from
Yeah.
heroin was kept in his garage.
Yeah, by his drums.
Yeah.
Hands it taped to the inside of his kick drum.
Yeah, but it was
I don't
fun, man. I loved playing music. I loved playing music with people. Like when you get a song and you're like, was that good? Like when you finish it and you're like, well, I think we're good.
I think it's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we sound good, right? That's good.
And it is different than comedy where you can do that just with you three in a room and still get something out of it. And you can't do shit
Exactly.
and stand up by yourself.
No, if I'm alone which most of the time I am, I'm just walking around trying jokes to nobody, and I feel terrible about myself. I'm just like doing jokes and then being like, what am I pretending to talk? This sucks.
Do you ever do some stuff into a voice memo and listen to it back?
I just record my sets and I'll listen to them every
Yeah, that
day
makes sense.
and like take notes and all that stupid shit. And just try to see what works, what gets the bigger laugh, what doesn't. It's very, very easy. You know, once you're funny, I think it becomes easy to be like, okay, that worked. Keep it. Didn't work. Get out. You know?
Yeah. Do you constantly write new jokes? Are you like every day, all day long, just trying to write new jokes to add to the set? Or are you trying
Yeah,
to fine
I
tune
try.
what you
I
have?
try that because once I started doing that, I just got better at stand up. Writing every day, just trying to have just having writing a couple of jokes. I mean, sometimes you're just staring at your notebook. I mean, like that's what I was doing before. My notebook has nothing in it right now. I'm just
Yeah.
staring at it like, what can I say? I have nothing to say, you know? And but even doing that, like, you know, I'll journal, I'll like free write, see if anything comes to mind as I'm writing. Just,
Mhm.
you know, that's also therapeutic.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm curious, you breaking into the New York scene, you know, I was a big fan of all that whole Tough Crowd crew, and you
Yeah.
hear these legendary stories about the ball busting and all that. What's it like coming in that scene now? You know, it's still an element of that? Is there
Yeah, it's
community like
cool.
that?
I mean, all those guys are like their own you know, that's those guys. You look at them,
Right.
you go, okay, that's that crew. They're still like that. You know, they're all a little bit softer now. They're nicer. They're all a little bit nicer now. But they're still like that, and they're still like that with each other. And it's like there is kind of a ball, like me and I think the podcast I do with my friends now is we say shit to each other that's way worse than what those guys said to each other. I mean, with the ball busting is like, you know, but when it's, I think the difference is like not every comic is a ball buster kind of, you know, you got to find your guys. And like, you know, we say shit that it's like, if your friend said that to you, you'd be like, hey, you'd have problems. You'd be like, you'd have to talk about it. Like, hey, we got to figure this out because you said this thing to me. You know, you'd be doing that for weeks. But with this, it's just like, you know, we're just shooting at each other and trying to get the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this. I don't know if that's a predominantly male thing, but even growing up as a kid, it just seemed like if you had a crew, you busted each other's balls, and it was a way to almost keep everybody. You know, your head's getting a little too big now, buddy, and you couldn't you could never walk around without going, okay, yeah, I'm kind of an asshole.
I only have like 2 of my girlfriends that I can be like that with. Everybody, it's all my dude friends. I can, you know, they're fucking with me, I'm fucking with them. It's fine.
Sure.
But with chicks, no, you can't. You have to be really careful because
it's much harder with women because they're more in touch with their feelings, you know.
And I get it, you know, I get it, but still, come on.
Yeah. The women are more, you know, more in touch. You wish that they could take a beating, but you know, but it's even like, you know, if your friend's ego is getting big, sure, you got to fucking slam him down.
Yeah.
But if your friend's ego is not big either, you have to be like, get a big ego, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You still have to be like yourself, have confidence. You know, my friends shit on me when I'm in a bad mood. If I'm in a bad, sad mood, they'll be like, what are you doing? You know, I have to like, oh, you're right. You know, get myself up. Oh, we're okay. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. Which would that's probably going to hit you better and get you in that mode better than, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I don't like that either.
It's already making me feel uncomfortable.
I don't like either of them. I don't like either reaction.
Pity.
I hate pity, and I hate when they slam me for being upset. You know,
so what would be the best way? What's the best way to get you out of your shitty mood?
To buy me nasal ketamine spray so that I'm never depressed.
That'll do it.
I've done ketamine once. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, I think it's like used for depression now.
Yeah, it is. One of my best friends used to work at the Nashville Brain Institute, and that's all she did all day was just administer ketamine.
Oh, I thought that's all she did all day, take ketamine. Yeah. She was a patient.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny that it's used for that now. When it's like, when I was in high school, we were like doing lines off of, you know, my drawer with my toys on them.
For depression?
Yeah, that's what we said to her. Yeah, this is for depression.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up for the regular people and gonna switch over to the regular Patreon. Last question I want to ask for the regular the regs.
Yeah.
When's the first time you remember hearing about my grandpa, Willie Nelson? Do you know who he is?
Oh, yes, I know who that is.
Okay.
I know that I'm 18 years old and young, you know, but honestly, you're gonna laugh. The first time, I mean, I knew of Willie like but my family's from New York. They're from like the East Coast. Like no one was really listening to him. Like my parents were listening to like Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel and the Dixie Chicks. Yeah. Because my mom had a little bit of that in her. But the first time I think I saw him was in Half Baked.
Oh, yeah. We've heard that before. We've heard that in the Muppets from the older people. Like I remember him from the Muppets.
Yeah, he was an actor to me before he was a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Cool, man. Thanks for doing this with us.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. We're
going to pretend to leave now.
And then
I don't think you have to say that part.
Yeah.
No? You just do it? Okay.
Yeah, you make it professional. You go, all right, thank you guys. We'll see you on the Patreon.
There we go.
That's Brendan Sagalow is my favorite comedian.
He was fun, man. It's great to hear comedians who've done the music stuff, rappers. A lot of rappers out there in these comedians. Anyway, enjoy your groceries.
Don't be an asshole.
I know your mama's name.
Did we cheers yet?
Enjoy your cigarette.